You are gonna plant 60 acres? Stephanie, you can barely walk.
Don't say a word. Just walk.
She set down her coffee, stood, and walked out into the cold. The diner's laughter followed her all the way to the truck. 20 minutes later, she pulled up to the equipment shed. The old red tractor sat in the dim light, waiting. She climbed onto the footboard, her belly pressed against the steering wheel, and turned the key. She didn't look at the house or the empty driveway. One hand rested on her belly, the other on the cracked wheel.
She's gonna kill herself out there. 60 acres with that belly. What's she trying to prove?
The other men laughed and shook their heads. They had seen enough failures to know one when they saw it.
Let them laugh. Daniel trusted me with this land. I am not selling.
The tractor lurched forward, cutting the first dark line through the field. She didn't look back. By the third day, every muscle ached. The baby kicked sharply against her ribs, but she kept the tractor moving. Then, in the low corner of the north field, the rear wheels spun uselessly in the mud. She climbed down, grabbed the chains, and started digging. The muck sucked at her boots, pulling her off balance.
I can't break now. Not with everyone watching. Not with Paul waiting.
The phone buzzed on the tractor seat, lighting up with a name she didn't want to see. Paul.
Stephanie, it's Paul. I hear you are out there killing yourself. My offer still stands. Take the sure thing.
She ended the call without a word. The line went dead, but the words hung in the cold air.
Daniel, give me strength.
She climbed back into the seat, jammed the throttle, and the engine bellowed. The wheels found purchase. The tractor lurched forward, finally free. She exhaled, but the work was only starting. On the fifth evening, she looked west and saw a wall of black clouds stacking over the plains. The radio warned of 2 days of heavy rain.
If this storm hits before the seeds are covered, I lose everything.
She had 12 acres left, enough for one more night. She flicked on the headlights and kept going. Hour after hour, the tractor crawled across the dark field. The baby kicked and turned, but she didn't stop.
One more row, then another. Just keep moving.
At 3 in the morning, she finished the last pass. The sky opened up as she killed the engine. Rain hammered the metal roof of the shed as she stumbled inside. She collapsed onto a hay bale, too tired to cry.
Please, let the ground hold. For him, for the baby.
The next morning, she walked the field. The rows were intact, the seeds still buried. The rain had fed, not ruined. She stood in the middle of the 60 acres, alone, her hand on her belly, and for the first time since the funeral, she allowed herself a single breath of hope. The next morning, she walked into the equipment shed to clear out the mess 3 years of grief had left behind. Her broom caught a loose floorboard near the old tractor. It tilted with a hollow sound. She knelt, pried it up, and found a dusty tin box. On the lid, in Daniel's handwriting, for Stephanie. Inside was a leather-bound journal, its pages filled with his precise hand. Soil rotation maps, micronutrient recipes, dates stretching back 3 years.
He planned for this. He knew he might not be here. Daniel, you planned for this.
That night, she sat at the kitchen table, lamp pulled close, and read every page from cover to cover.
He wrote down exactly what the soil needed. Lime here, potash there, a 3-year rotation.
The last entry was dated 3 weeks before the accident. He had highlighted exactly what he wanted her to do if he was gone. Stephanie closed the journal and pressed it to her chest. Please, baby, give me the strength to follow his map. At the co-op, the clerk made a joke about a crystal ball. She didn't pause, ordering 400 pounds of lime. She paid with the last of her savings and loaded the bags into the truck, her belly straining against the weight. Back at the field, she marked the rows according to the journal's maps and started spreading the amendments. Dave Halpern slowed his truck on the road, leaning out the window.
What are you doing now, playing scientist? That's good money you are wasting on dirt, girl.
She kept her back to him, dragging the spreader along the taped lines. When his truck finally disappeared, she knelt and pressed the soil probe into the earth. The pH reading matched the journal's benchmark down to the decimal. She allowed herself a small nod.
Daniel was right. Now I just have to wait.
She packed up the supplies and walked back to the house. The field lay silent, waiting. 2 weeks of warm rain, and the field transformed. Green shoots pushed through the soil, thicker than anyone had expected. In the diner, the talk turned to the Reeves place. Dave Halpern couldn't ignore it anymore.
That Reeves' widow's corn is a foot taller than mine. Must be the Lord's humor.
Paul heard the gossip by noon. He drove straight to the farm, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, and he didn't let the gate slow him down. He pulled up beside the field and stepped out, walking among the rows like a man who owned them. His smile was gone.
Stephanie, what did you do here? This isn't just luck.
Planted, Paul, same as everyone else.
Nobody gets stands like this without something. What's your secret?
Maybe I just listened better than you.
She met his eyes without blinking. He didn't know what to say, so he turned and walked back to his truck, his jaw still tight. By mid-June, a black wall of cloud rolled over the county. Hailstones the size of quarters hammered the fields for 15 minutes straight. Dave Halpern's 60 acres were shredded, leaves stripped, stalks broken, the ground white with ice.
Daniel wrote, "Apply potash silica, 48 hours ahead of heat stress." I didn't know why, I just did it.
She had spread the treatment exactly 2 days earlier, trusting a dead man's calculations without question. When the sun came back, her field stood straight. The stalks had bent, then risen. Only a few tattered leaves showed the storm had been there. Dave walked his own land with his cap crushed in his fist. Nothing to harvest.
How is her field still standing? It don't make sense.
By the next morning, cars were slowing on County Road 7. Men who had laughed in April drove past with hats in their laps. She stood in the middle of her corn, one hand on her belly, and felt the baby shift. For once, the silence around her didn't feel like loneliness. The hail had taken everything from her neighbors. Her field, fed by a dead man's wisdom, was only getting stronger. Tom Anders heard about the field that survived the hail. He showed up at the farm gate the next Sunday afternoon.
Mrs. Reeves, Tom Anders. I am a grain buyer for Central Plains. Mind if I walk your field?
She led him through the rows. He pulled an ear, peeled back the husk, and studied the kernels in silence.
This is the best articulated kernel I've seen in 5 years. What's your secret?
No secret. Just good dirt and a good plan.
I'll be direct. I can offer a contract. 2 years, $18.50 a bushel, if you deliver 240 bushels per acre.
The number hung in the air. That was 60 bushels over the county average, and enough money to clear every debt.
He's betting on me. But if I fail, it's not just my loss, it's Daniel's name. You'll get your 240.
Tom nodded, wrote on his clipboard, and handed her a letter of intent. She held it with both hands, the paper trembling. Paul didn't wait long. 3 days after Tom's visit, he pulled into the farmyard with a leather folder in his hand and a practiced smile.
Stephanie, I heard about the contract. I am trying to save you from bankruptcy. Here is a fair family offer.
She stepped off the porch and took the folder without a word. Her other hand resting on her belly, she flipped open the folder. The number was a third of market value. She laughed, but there was no humor in it.
That's not fair, Paul. That's theft. And you know it.
That contract is vapor. The bank won't wait. Take the sure thing now before you lose everything.
She took a step forward, closing the distance until he had to look up.
Get off my land. Now.
You'll regret this, Stephanie. When the harvest fails and the bank comes calling, don't forget who offered you a way out.
She didn't answer. He spun, walked to his truck, and left with a spray of gravel. She watched until the dust settled. After Paul's truck vanished, Stephanie walked back inside and climbed the stairs to the study. She hadn't been in there in months. The room smelled of old paper. A worn oak desk sat by the window, one drawer locked tight. She remembered the small key in Daniel's winter coat. She retrieved it from the closet, her hands trembling. The key turned easily. Inside the drawer lay a digital recorder and a folded note in Daniel's handwriting. For Stephanie. Evidence. She pressed play on the recorder. The audio started, and her blood ran cold.
If I ever get control, the Reeves seed line is available. Name your price.
The recording continued with a buyer's voice. She stopped the playback, unable to hear more.
Daniel recorded him. He knew, and he left me the proof I needed.
She copied the file onto her phone and hid the original behind a loose board under the desk. She'd wait, but Paul wouldn't. The county fair tent was loud and crowded, but the moment she set her display on the table, a hush fell over the agriculture judges. Test weight, 62 pounds per bushel. Protein, 11.5%. Both numbers blew past every entry in the county.
Stephanie, I gotta say it. I was wrong. You proved me wrong. How'd you do it?
My husband's notes, Dave. He saw things we didn't. I just followed his plan. They're finally listening, but Paul isn't finished. I can feel him watching.
Across the tent, Paul stood with his arms folded. His jaw tightened as he watched Dave shake her hand.
If you ever want to talk at the co-op, we'd all listen. Lots of folks could learn from those notes.
Now they want to learn. But first, I have to survive the harvest. And whatever Paul does next.
Enjoy it while it lasts, Stephanie. This fair means nothing when the bank comes calling.
She felt the shift in the air. For the first time, she wasn't the widow who couldn't. She was the farmer who did. But the toughest fight was still ahead. 3 days after the fair, a voicemail from Tom hit her phone. We've received an anonymous complaint. Contract suspended pending GMO investigation.
He's faster than I thought. This isn't luck. It's Paul.
2 inspectors arrived that afternoon, unannounced. She showed them the field, the old seed bags, the journal, calm as stone while they took samples.
Let them test. I followed every line Daniel wrote.
When they left, she called Paul directly, her voice steady.
Me, number? I'd never hurt you. But I told you this business is risky. Maybe someone wants you to fail.
I am sure they do, but it won't be me.
She hung up and stood still for a long moment, one hand pressed against her belly. Then she walked inside. Upstairs, she pulled open the desk drawer and touched the recorder. She didn't play it. She just held it.
Your move, Paul. My turn soon.
The lab results took 10 days. She spent them walking the corn, pulling weeds, and watching the horizon.
Stephanie, it's Tom. Your seed is older than my grandmother. Verified heirloom, non-GMO, contract reinstated with a 5% bonus.
Thank you, Tom. I'll see you at harvest.
She hung up and stood still, letting the news settle. The contract was back, stronger than DeFeel's back, stronger than before, but she felt no joy, only a cold clarity. She walked inside and opened the drawer. The recorder lay there like a loaded gun.
Paul thinks he crippled me. Instead, he just gave me the reason.
She didn't play the recording. She knew every word by heart. Instead, she tucked it into her jacket pocket, always within reach.
I'll wait. But when I strike, Paul won't see it coming.
The months ahead would bring the harvest and the showdown. But for now, the crop needed tending, and she had work to do. She stepped back outside, the recorder a small weight against her ribs, and walked the rows with a hunter's patience. The corn grew thick as a wall, the stalks heavy with promise. Tom returned with an agronomist who took one look and whistled low.
250 easy. Stephanie, this is a county record in the making.
250. Just like Daniel predicted on the last page.
Paul appeared at the field's edge, uninvited, hands in his pockets, pretending interest.
Just checking on you, sis. Word is you are about to set records.
I am busy, Paul. Nothing you can help with.
His eyes drifted to the barn, then back. She stepped between him and the path.
If you want to see the crop, walk the rows with me. Keep your eyes on the corn.
He left an hour later, jaw tight. She waited until his dust faded, then checked the hiding spot under the desk. Untouched, she slid the board back into place and stood. He'd be back, but so would the combine. A week before harvest, Stephanie was double-checking the grain bins when she saw Paul slip an envelope to one of the hired hands. She waited until Paul's truck disappeared, then walked straight to the man, her voice cold.
What did he ask you for?
The worker stammered that Paul paid him for the yield estimates. The words were barely out before she cut him off.
You are done. Collect your things and leave now.
She watched him walk off, then pulled out her phone and dialed her lawyer.
Get the paperwork ready. A cease and desist. And document everything. I'll need it the day after harvest.
She hung up and stood in the quiet yard, one hand testing the weight of the recorder in her pocket.
I have something for you, Paul. Something you forgot about.
She turned back toward the barn. The showdown was 3 days away, and this time, she would be the one holding the leash. The combine swallowed the last rows just as the sun dipped low. The scale house printer chattered to life. The first weigh ticket read 242.5 bushels per acre, a new county record.
Stephanie, you just set a county record. This contract is the smartest thing I've ever signed.
The crowd of farmers and neighbors erupted. Dave Halpern thumped her shoulder, his cap already off his head.
Stephanie, I owe you an apology a dozen times over. You proved us all wrong.
Don't let the joy blind you. Paul will come. Be ready.
And then, as if summoned by the thought, a familiar truck crunched to a stop at the field's edge. Paul stepped out, arms spread wide, a camera-ready smile plastered on his face.
I always knew this farm had it in her. That's my brother's land, right there.
She didn't move. Her hand went to the pocket of her coat, where the recorder lay waiting. She walked toward Paul, her stride steady, and touched his arm before he could work the crowd further.
Paul, we need to discuss the farm. In private. Now.
Sure, Stephanie. We should talk about your next steps. I have a plan that's best for everyone.
She didn't respond, just turned and walked toward the barn. After a beat, he followed, still smiling. Tom and Dave exchanged glances, but no one moved. The crowd watched the two figures disappear into the barn. Inside, the heavy door swished shut behind them, cutting off the sunlight and the distant cheers. She turned to face him, her hand pressing against the folder hidden beneath her coat.
This is it. For Daniel. For the baby. No more waiting.
Paul's smile flickered as his eyes adjusted to the dim light. He opened his mouth to speak. Stephanie pulled the folder from under her coat and held it between them. The truth was finally in her hands. She opened the folder, revealing the printed transcript, the USB drive, and Daniel's old handwritten note.
Remember this, Paul. Daniel recorded you. I have the audio, the transcript, and a lawyer on speed dial.
That's illegal. You can't record a private conversation without both parties consenting.
This isn't a courtroom, Paul. This is my barn. And that's your voice selling something you never owned.
She thumbed the play button. The dusty recorder crackled to life.
If I ever get control, the Reeves seed line is available. Name your price.
The barn fell silent again. Paul's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out.
You will leave this county. Sign a quit claim waiving all claims to this farm. Or I release this recording to every grain buyer, every co-op, and the local paper.
You can't do this. You destroy the family name.
You destroyed it the moment you tried to sell Daniel's seed line. Now you have 10 seconds to decide.
She slid the pen and quitclaim across the crate. His hand shook, but the signature came.
You are destroying this family. Daniel would be ashamed.
No, Paul. You did that the day you tried to sell what wasn't yours.
She lifted the signed paper, checked the ink, then pointed to the side door. He stumbled into the fading light, not looking back. She followed, making sure he stayed out of sight of the crowd. Outside, he fumbled with the truck keys, hands still trembling, his face pale in the sunset. The engine roared, gravel sprayed, and the truck shot down the lane, taking Paul with it. She watched until the dust settled, one hand pressed against her belly, the other holding the quitclaim.
It's done. The farm is safe. For Daniel, for the baby.
She walked into the harvested field, the sunset stretching gold behind her, and for the first time in months, she let herself breathe.
Is everything okay? Paul left without a word.
He had to leave. The farm's future is clearer now.
She pulled the final contract from her pocket and signed it on the tailgate of Tom's truck. A reporter snapped a picture.
That makes it official. Reeves Farms is a premium supplier for years to come.
The local paper ran the headline, Reeves Farm sets county record. Pregnant widow proves skeptics wrong. Dave Halpern approached, cap in hand, his eyes on the stubble field.
Stephanie, I was wrong about you. Would you speak at the co-op next month? We could all learn from your husband's notes.
She nodded, then looked out at the 60 acres of stubble and sky.
It's real, Daniel. We did it.
It was the highest yield in county history, and she had done it alone. The hospital room was quiet, the only sound the stirring of a newborn in the bassinet by the window. Stephanie reached in and lifted him, his tiny body fitting perfectly against her chest.
Hello there. Your name is Daniel. Your dad planned this whole thing for us.
A nurse appeared with a blue envelope. From the Halpern family, she said softly. She opened it with one hand, the baby cradled in the other, and read the words. Welcome, little one. Your mom's a force of nature. Tears slid down her cheeks as she looked at her son, at his tiny features.
We made it, little Daniel. For your dad. For this farm. For everything.
Outside the window, the winter fields lay under a blanket of fresh snow, white and silent. Spring would come again, but for now, the world was still, and it was enough. Months later, when the fields turned green again, she sat on the farmhouse porch with baby Daniel in a carrier beside her. A ledger rested in her lap, the contract numbers finally adding up to a future. They told her she couldn't. They laughed at a pregnant widow on a tractor, but she climbed into that old red seat, hand on her belly, and she plowed. And when the harvest came, she didn't need to say a word. The highest yield in county history spoke louder than any of them.
Daniel, we did it. The farm is ours.
She looked down at her son, the future of Reeves Farms, and felt the weight of a promise kept. The sign at the gate read Reeves Farms, and it would stay that way. They mocked the pregnant widow for plowing alone. So she let the harvest speak.